I'm Lucia Maddox, Director of Western States Outreach and Senior Policy Associate at the Center for Responsible Lending. CRL provides state and national research, analysis, and advocacy to create financial fairness and economic opportunity for all. American low-income families and families of color, disproportionately impacted by labor market inequities and weak social safety net policies, have struggled to make financial ends meet. Debt collectors often take advantage of these families by weaponizing the courts to seize hard-earned money through wage garnishment or bank levy. Wage garnishment is a legal avenue for creditors to collect on debt, at times based on inaccurate consumer debt information or without the consumer even knowing they had a court order against them. Employers must comply with this order, deducting wages accordingly from a worker's paycheck before they even receive it. Third-party debt collectors and buyers who buy written-off debt for pennies on the dollar and then attempt to collect can be aggressive and predatory in their collection tactics. Today, more than 4 million Americans are subject to wage garnishments for outstanding consumer debts, and recent data indicates that over 64 million people are being pursued by debt collectors. According to the New York Federal Reserve's 2022 fourth quarter report, overall household debt has grown to $16.9 trillion, the largest quarterly increase in 20 years. Systemic racism has fostered a debt collection landscape in which people of color are more likely to be contacted by collectors and more likely to be impacted by lawsuits resulting in wage garnishment and bank levies. According to the Urban Institute, as of February 2022, 35% of people in communities of color have a debt in collections, compared to 22% in white communities. The amount of wages currently protected from seizure at the federal level has been tied to the federal minimum wage, which, as we know, has been stagnant for over a decade. Based on a formula established by federal law, which has not been updated since the late 1960s, only $217.50 is protected from a consumer's weekly paycheck today. This subjects workers to excessive wealth extraction that leaves them without enough net income to pay for recurring expenses like rent, car payments, or services for their families. Meanwhile, cost of living increases have forced people living on a shoestring budget to finance essential items like food and medicine. Wage garnishment policies are in drastic need of modernization. That's why CRL advocates for the federal government to protect $12,000 in bank accounts and an associated $1,000 per week in wages. This would help families save enough for 3 months of basic expenses, avoid eviction, and afford important items they need day to day. Now, why these amounts? Research has shown that a family of two needs over $60,000 per year to make ends meet in a high-cost area, and that financially healthy families typically have a median value of $44,000 in liquid savings. Protecting $12,000 in a bank account will help low-income families develop a savings cushion and allow them to weather emergencies for at least a few months, which is vital as the financial impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic persist. Further, $1,000 in wages per week reflects the average amount a small family needs to meet their basic needs. New research reveals that 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Wage garnishment could force these families to choose between groceries and medicine, or paying their rent or a car payment. Even for those making a living wage, some people have to work more than full-time hours to cover their basic needs and should not have those funds garnished to cover debts. Protecting these minimum amounts would allow consumers around the country to have enough in their weekly paycheck to support their family and pay for their bills while managing their debt responsibly. The federal government must act now to prevent more unrelenting, debilitating debt for consumers. Learn more about abusive debt collection and wage protection on our website. Thanks for listening. Connect with us at responsiblelending.org and follow us on social media.